Welcome to another episode of the Connect with Tebello, and today we'll be discussing a very controversial issue, a very controversial icon by the name of Idi Amin of Uganda. A lot of people regard him as the butcher of Uganda. Some regard to him as the hero of Uganda, although he was not perfect. But then before we dive into his leadership, I'd like us to discuss more on who he was before becoming a leader. Idi Amin was born into humble beginnings in the northwestern side of Uganda around 1925. He later joined the military group also known as the KAR, or the King's African Rifles, that worked for the interests of the British or the Britain. And this military group was not so different from the Force Publique of the Congo, that also worked for the interests of King Leopold of Belgium. So now Idi Amin is in this army and he rises through the ranks, and as he is rising through the ranks, he was also becoming very popular throughout Uganda. And this would then later allow him to overthrow the government and have the support of the Ugandan people. Idi Amin overthrew the government through a coup or a coup d'etat, and he did this because the then current President Milton Obote went out of the country or was out of the country to attend a Commonwealth summit that was hosted in Singapore. Some reports from the declassified British documents claim that he was assisted to overthrow the government by nations such as the United Kingdoms and nations such as Israel. These Western nations assisted him because they did not agree to Obote's policies. They said that his policies were too left-leaning, they were too radical, they were too aligned to nations such as China and the Soviet Union. So they assisted Idi Amin to overthrow the government. I'll be mentioning some of the brutalities, some of the horrendous and heinous crimes that Idi Amin did towards the Ugandan people during his leadership. And if you want to know more about some of these horrendous things in detail, you can read this book, visit this book. The cover is like this, and the name of the book is Uganda, The Rise and Fall of Idi Amin. According to drum reports, around 300,000 to 500,000 people were killed during Idi Amin's leadership, and most were related to the Akolai and the Lange ethnic group. The reason why was because people claim that Idi Amin had animosity towards these Akolai and Lange people. There were a lot of public executions that were held against guerrillas that were opposed to Idi Amin's rule. Public execution meaning that a lot of people were killed right in front of the people's eyes, right there and then. High officials, religious leaders, vice chancellors, ministers that were opposed or against Idi Amin mysteriously vanished. But then one important incident that happened was that he expelled a lot of Asians that resided within Uganda. This was because Idi Amin claimed that the Asians were milking the Ugandan economy. He said that a lot of Asians owned a lot of businesses. So he gave them 90 days to leave Uganda. And after they left, the economy was given back to the hands of the black Ugandan majority. So now that we are done mentioning some of the horrendous things that Idi Amin did towards the Ugandan people, I'll also mention some of the good things because a story always has two sides to it. First being that 80% of the economy was given back to the hands of the Ugandan majority, meaning that a lot of Ugandans now owned businesses. They owned trade businesses, they owned banking, and they owned your normal spaza shops in a day-to-day routine. Crime and prostitution levels dropped significantly and drastically during his leadership, And there were a lot of infrastructural developments. Many roads were built, but then these roads and infrastructure would later be dilapidated because of how he ran things. There was also free healthcare and free education under his rule, meaning that there was no school fees to be paid. And most importantly, Idi Amin was a Pan-Africanist because he was supported, and he also supported famous leaders such as Muammar Gaddafi of Libya. He believed in a liberated African Union that was liberated from the hegemony and the dominance from the West. People were revolting against his leadership, and how Idi Amin fell was because of this one incident. It was the killing, or the mysterious killing, of the famous Archbishop Janani Luwum. This Archbishop had support from the majority of the Ugandan people, and when he was killed by Idi Amin's regime, a lot of protests ensued. So we saw a lot of resistant movement against Idi Amin, such as the Fronasa that was led by Yoweri Museveni, which I think is the current president of Uganda today. So Fronasa, together with the military forces of Tanzania that were advocated for by Julius Nyerere, attacked Uganda and went into Uganda and overthrew Idi Amin's rule by taking over the capital city of Uganda, also known as Kampala. After Fronasa and the Tanzanian military took over the government of Idi Amin ran and fled out of the country into exile. And that's how the regime of Idi Amin collapsed. I'd like to share some of my thoughts before we end the episode. First, stating that a lot of insights that I've mentioned today are from reports, and some reports claim that there was propaganda that was pushed against Idi Amin to make him look like a bad leader. So the only way we'll know the truth is that we have people from Uganda tell us their experience during Idi Amin's rule, right? And I'd also like to mention that the trend that I'm also seeing again is that each and every bad incident that has been happening in the African history is that the West have always been involved. So we can look at places such as Congo, where there was a genocide that was led by King Leopold and the First Republic. The West was involved. So some solutions are that in order for the African nation to become a liberated nation, unity is the only solution. Please comment below and drop some of your thoughts on the comment section, and I'll see you on the other episode.